now, here are your hosts, Janet Hickox and Roger Wetzel.
So today, our show's title, which is really interesting, is I Can Do Anything If Only I Knew What It Was. I, myself, have felt this exact same thing before. Roger, have you ever wondered what your life purpose is? Or ask the question of yourself, what am I here for?
Yeah, I've asked that a lot, and I'm actually getting to the place where it doesn't really matter what my life purpose is because I'm already doing it.
Yeah, maybe that comes with age.
So,
Maybe that comes with age
know.
and wisdom, right?
or maybe we'll learn more about that in this show, in this interview.
That's exactly right. So today our guest is Marilyn Harper. She's been called the Midwestern spiritual spark plug and the Bette Midler of the New Age movement. And I know there's got to be a great story in that line. So we'll be talking to Marilyn in a moment about this. Marilyn is a renowned public speaker, facilitator, spiritual teacher, and the channel of Adironda and Company. She is an internationally recognized expert on the walk-in phenomenon. She humorously points out that it took 3 car accidents before she awakened to her true calling as a channel and began developing her spiritual gifts. In her work as a speaker, facilitator, and healer, Marilyn's goal is to provide fun experiences and practical methods to help people laugh, love, and live the life they are here to live in joy, peace, love, and laughter. Welcome, Marilyn Harper.
It is so nice to be here with you, Janet and Roger. It's just fun. Your energy is just so bright and light.
Thanks, Marilyn.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Good to have you here.
We're glad to have you here. And I just have to dive right in, Marilyn. What in the heck is the Bette Midler of the New Age movement? Are you going to get up and sing for us and dance?
Yes, absolutely. If that's what it takes, I will. And I think that's why somebody said you're like the Bette Midler of the New Age movement, and it just like somebody told me that like 10 or 15 years ago. Well, you see, Bette Midler, when she's in concert, she will really do anything. She will put on a mermaid suit. She will dance in a wheelchair. She will do anything. And when I facilitate a conference every year, and this year it's in Denver in September. And I guess that was where it came from. Is I was on stage somewhere and I was doing some kind of crazy antic, and they said, "You're like Bette Midler," and I thought, well, okay, I could be worse.
Right?
Yeah, if I could only sing like Bette Midler.
No kidding. No kidding. But I think that's really kind of cute, the Bette Midler of the New Age movement. But the spiritual spark plug is also quite cute. Is there another story in that one? The Midwestern spiritual spark plug, is that what it was?
Well, people make fun of me because I started saying namaste, y'all. And I guess I have some sort of a Midwest accent. I don't hear it, but they say that I do. And then my business partner especially says that I can outwork anyone. It's like, I do retreats, and when a spiritual teacher normally facilitates a retreat, most of the time you'll be with that channel or whatever, an hour in the morning, maybe an hour in the afternoon, and an hour in the evening. And that's really it. Well, I am there 24/7. I eat with everybody. I play with everybody. I laugh with them. I cry with them. I dance with them. I mean, I do the whole thing. That's one of the things about our spiritual retreats that are different than others is, and then I wear them out. and that somebody said I'm like a spiritual spark plug, but I've also discovered that when people are a little bit tired, their heart chakra opens up a little easier, and they shift a little bit more easily. And I think you can shift a lot easier with laughter than you can with all this dramatic stuff. So so that's kind of why they call me a spark plug, is because I love what I do. I asked the question for years and years, what am I going to be when I grow up?
What's your life purpose?
My life purpose is to activate others. And however I want to do that, I can do that. And you know, it's so fun to explore that, because I was really in my 50s when I awakened, when I really really set my intention to be all that I am. And even though it was in the 90s when I awoke from being, I actually experienced a walk-in, complete soul transformation. And a lot of
Mhm.
people don't even know that that exists, but I'm here to tell you, and we can do a show on it if you want. But I'm here to tell you that
Sure.
it
I
really
think
does
that would be a
exist.
great story.
It is. It's an
Yeah.
amazing story. And with that though, I found that I had a little discrepancy in that I was deacon in the Christian church and I was selling advertising for a country western radio station, and I had this spiritual awakening which supposedly didn't exist. And it's like, what the heck am I supposed to do with this? And then when Adironda and the council came in and I began channeling, um, that was even more of a discrepancy because it was sort of like against my own belief systems. So I was still asking, I, I know I can do anything, but I don't know what it is that I want to do. And so that's how this topic
What
came
do I
up.
want to be when I grow up?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The fact that I was 55 years old didn't seem to make any difference.
Now, did you actually experience a near-death or have a near-death experience that
I did
precipitated
not.
this?
I did not. I know that for many walk-ins, they do experience a near-death experience,
Hmm.
or they have a deep-seated emotional trauma. But that's not how I experienced complications following a surgery. And
Okay.
I went back into the hospital 5 days after the surgery, and I was in so much pain that I said, if I am going to be in this much pain, I would rather be dead than be here. And that was the moment that I experienced that surge of energy. I don't think I would have died, but I think this was a contractual agreement before I was born, before my walk in was born. And so my walk in decided, okay, I'm out of here.
That's really an interesting story because a lot of people express that. As an astrologer, I hear all kinds of stories from people that are very similar. Something shakes them up, whether it's an illness, a near-death experience, a divorce, or something major, and their life changes in very fundamental ways, and they sort of end up stumbling into that question. So in a question to you then, does every person really have a unique purpose on this planet?
Yes.
Short
In one
answer,
simple
yes.
answer, yes. And this is my belief. I'll raise my hand. This is my belief. It may not have a thing to do with the truth or reality. However, what I have discovered is that every person, that as a channel, that's one of the three most asked questions is, what's my purpose? What's my purpose on this planet? And I believe that everyone does have a unique purpose, and everyone has a collective purpose. And their collective purpose is to find their joy and then live it. Their unique purpose is how they do that.
Ah,
Roger was talking before we came on about how he knows what he wants to do. He just does it. He's already
Actually,
discovered.
let me clarify what I meant when I said that. What I really got to is that there's over the last I don't know 5-10 years, there's been this whole thing about find your purpose, live your purpose, that whole thing, right? And what I've come to realize is that me just being me is I'm on purpose. Now, how am I going to express that, and how am I going to let things flow through me? That's where I have the roadblock, a little bit of a roadblock. But I think coming to that realization is, for me, was the most important thing first. So.
And Roger, that's really the case. And people get so caught up with the belief that they have to be something other than who they are. And that they have to live up to other people's expectations and expectations of themselves. And that's where the discrepancy lies. So once a person realizes that, I am me. I am going to try my best to live me through and through 24/7. That is the first step to really acknowledging who they are and what their purpose is. Again, their purpose, in my belief, is to find their joy and live it. Their destiny is how they do that. Most people, not all people, but many people need some source of livelihood, some ways of generating some sort of an income, some sort of a currency, unless they have a trust fund, unless they're independently wealthy, and many people are, and yay for them. However, they still need, as you say, that expression, that creative expression of who they are in the world, whether they need it as a livelihood or whether they need it as something completely different. So I think that to be you and to know who you are, it's so often I find people don't even know who they are, and yet I firmly believe that everyone has a divine essence. Everyone has a center of activity, a center of divinity that is within them that truly acknowledges all their talents and all their skills. I guess it was in 2001, I went to a workshop with one of my teachers, Joelle Wilkins, who now runs the Power of One in Thailand. She had a workshop where she named each of our divine essences. And she has sort of bequeathed that skill to me, to find out what your essence is. My essence is divine inspiration. I inspire people and motivate them to be who they are. And I have lots of fun doing that.
That's obvious.
Yes, I guess so.
I agree. So how did you find your essence then, or how did that come to you?
Well, it's so fascinating, and it really is a technique that anyone can do, and that you can do at any given time in your life. The first thing to find your divine essence, or which your divine essence is connected to your purpose, but not necessarily how you express it. But your divine essence is when you take what you really don't like. What is your pet peeve? What are those things that happen in your life and in your surroundings that just make you so angry and so frustrated you just want to shake something, and then you describe that, and then you go into the exact opposite, and that's normally your divine essence. So I'll use me as an example. The thing that really upsets me is when I see someone that's got so much talent and so much skill, and they're just not living up to their potential. They're just not doing anything with it. They may complain all the time. They may have wonderful technology talents, and they may love technology, but they're working as a busboy somewhere, and so they can complain about it. They're not using that essence, when they're not using their potential. And another thing that really, really upsets me, this is a pet peeve, but it's a clue, is when you have a fiber tip pen and someone leaves the tip off of it. And so it dries out. And I thought, how are those two things related? Because the question is, what really frustrates you and what is your pet peeve? Well, that's my pet peeve. Don't ever leave the tip off your flare when you're around me, baby.
Will not do that.
But you see, when someone leaves the tip off of their fiber tip pen, it dries out. So it loses its purpose. It loses what it's here to do. So it's not using what it's here to do. So that's the correlation. So then I went from, okay, so if it really upsets me when people do not live up to their potential, what is the opposite of that? potential, motivation, action, inspiration, and you just keep playing around with the words until you hit on the one word. And when you do, I mean to tell you, Janet and Roger, it just goes through your soul. You feel it and you're like, yes, that's it. My business partner, Joy Roby, she is divine action. And I always put a divine in front of it. Because I like that.
I think it's perfect for our purposes here.
Yeah, I think so too.
So, I mean, I'm trying to think of like what is my pet peeve. Roger, what is your pet peeve? Because I can't think of one, except like I get annoyed when people leave the cupboard doors open and everything looks all amiss in the kitchen.
You know what my pet peeve is? There's so many. Like most human beings are my pet peeve. So I don't know what that says.
No.
You know what? You froze up there. I'm a what?
You
froze for a second. What were you saying?
Marilyn, you froze up for a second. What were you saying?
I said you're a divine hermit.
Oh.
That's, you know what? That's pretty true. You know, if I could get rid of half the people on the island right now, that would be even better, because there would be less people here. But that's very true.
And so and maybe it is a divine monk. Maybe there's a different word to describe that. But if that's your pet peeve, and you look at the opposite of that, then that holds the energy there. And you said your pet peeve was the closet doors. You may be a divine stabilizer. You may be
divine neat freak.
divine. You may be divine organization.
Well, you kind of are, Janet. Seriously.
Play around with those words. Play around with the opposite. I mean, when you say your pet peeve is when people leave the cabinet doors open and everything is all a miss. What else sort of frustrates you about your world or what's happening?
I'll tell you what really frustrates me, but this has to do with more of my work and not necessarily my life in general, but it frustrates me when people only want to ask the superficial questions, like, when am I going to fall in love? As an astrologer, I mean, they're asking me these questions like, really, you think I can look at that in your chart and find out what the day that you're going to fall in love? And
of course you can.
You mean you can't? Oh my gosh.
So yeah, really. So I think there's this part of me that really thinks that people are sometimes just playing on the superficial level, and I really like it when they're willing to go deeper than that. Ask the bigger questions. What am I here to do? Know thyself. That's what I love saying that to people. Know thyself. And then You don't have to ask me those kind of superficial questions, because you'll be looking at the reasons why it isn't in your life.
Exactly. So then when you take that and go in opposition of people that are just living a superficial existence, how does that relate to closing the cabinet doors? So in a superficial existence, I'm trying to draw that straight line. In a superficial existence, somebody that they want to know when they're going to get married, they want to know where their big stack of cash is, that.
Yeah, they want the date.
Yeah. So they want to get really specific with that energy, and the cabinet door is being unspecific by being opened. So then the opposite of that is purpose, divine purpose, or divine direction. You provide divine direction.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. It's hard to find your direction when all the doors are open and you don't know which one to go through.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's hard to find your direction when all the cans are turned around and not in alphabetical order and misconstrued and
Yeah, don't get me started on the can cupboard.
somehow I knew that all your cans are, mine are all askew. I'm sure Bette Midler's are too.
But this is great because this is kind of an exercise then that other people can walk through in their own lives to discover this is the essence we're talking about as opposed to purpose, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It is the essence that they're talking about. And then when they know their essence, then of course, in my belief, their purpose is only to find their joy. That's it. Oh, when you find your joy, everything else follows suit with that.
So then to take that then in what you did for yourself, then to find you knew that you were here to inspire, divine inspiration. So then it was your job then next to discover how you bring that divine inspiration and into your purpose of living joy.
Exactly. So everything else is related to that. Everything else is connected to that. Now, another step that I take I teach a workshop. Right now, the workshop is called Mythbusters for the New Human. I'm doing it in Sarasota, Florida. I don't know when this is going to air, but I'm doing it in Sarasota, Florida and Portland, Maine with Lee Carroll Cryon soon.
Oh, nice.
Oh, okay.
The actual name of the class is I Can Do Anything If Only I Knew What It Was.
Which I love.
I do too, but they titled it as Mythbusters for the New Human. So,
okay.
So
that works too.
You see that, you'll know what it is. But another thing that I do is I have people make a list of all the things that they love, all the things that they really love doing. When they're doing it, they say, I could do this forever. What is it that you love? And then make another list of all the things that you're really good at. And sometimes there's a correlation. And then I always have people ask 3 of their friends to write down, not to tell them, but to write down, because if they write it down, they put a little more thought into it than when you're sitting in front of your friend and they say, what am I good at? And they say, oh, you're good at everything. Yeah. Like, no, that's not the answer. Yeah, exactly. But they put some thought into it and then look at those correlations as to draw the lines to say, okay, so this is what I love. This is what I'm good at. And this is what my friends say I'm good at. Well, when I realized that I was divine inspiration, I did this exercise after that. And I thought, well, how do I inspire people? So the things that I love is, at that time, I really loved speaking. I loved, speaking in front of groups. I was a teacher. My walkout was a teacher and a theatrical performer. I couldn't perform theatrically after I walked in. However, my cells remembered what it was like to be in a small group. And so I really loved doing that. So, and then one of the things that I did on my list where of my greatest talents and skills is I speak really well. People listen when I talk. So
Okay.
then you've got 2 points. And then one of the things that my friends would say was I was a really good communicator. And it was not necessarily a compliment when they said that they always know exactly how I feel. I always communicated. They may not like how I communicated, but I always communicated. So then that was that straight line. And so then when Adirondack came in, I balked against being inspiration in that capacity because,
Do you mean in the capacity of sharing your voice through a channel?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I mean, I was the one that when I read Shirley MacLaine's book Out on a Limb, I threw it away because I thought it was such a sacrilege.
Old paradigm thinking, old paradigm, yeah.
And with that, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to get more into the sacrilege and more. And then you can explain to us what Adirondack is. So we'll be right back.